you were around a long time ago, things were a little different. Things are way different now. And I'm at a point with Call of Duty where I'm just going to be as real as I can with you guys on everything. No sugarcoating, no cherries on top. We're going to jump into it. We're going to dive into it today. We're going to talk about the big golden carrot that's being dangled in front of us. Reduced SBMM in Black Ops 7. The word reduced honestly just makes me pull back in a huge way. Guys, do me a favor, make sure you're subscribed. While you do that, turn on those notifications. Ring that bell so you get all the notifications for the new Chaos Call of Duty channel if you enjoy these type of commentaries. And then over there, you get your COD history ranking videos as well. So it's hopefully the perfect world for this community. Now let's jump in. So let's start off by saying that Black Ops 7, to me, had a pretty successful beta period, to the point I was actually kind of surprised. I mean, we have these betas every single year, and they never actually seem to do anything for the game as a whole. But this time around, I really feel like Treyarch was actually listening to player feedback, and they've been implementing a lot of changes requested after the community got their hands on the multiplayer. But honestly, I'm not sure the way things are going is actually a good direction. Scratch that. On paper, these are very good changes, and we're going to go over everything today that's changing from the beta to the final release of the game. But I want you guys to stick around, because once we go over everything, I need to be honest with you guys about where I actually think this is going, because I've been around the COD block many times, and even though a lot of this is really positive, I don't think we should be letting ourselves get caught up in the hype train. There's a few things here about the changes being made to Black Ops 7, and also the way that Treyarch has been talking about these changes that I don't think are actually going to end up being positive. So you guys, let me know in the comments what you think about all these changes. Let me know if you're actually going to be dedicating time to Black Ops 7 this year, or do you think it's all too good to be true? And yes, we are definitely talking about SBMM. So for starters, let's go over what's changing from the beta to the full release of the game. Treyarch recently confirmed that they are going to overhaul the movement for Black Ops 7 following the community feedback. Footsteps are going to be a bit louder, which I think is a good thing, and the sliding, they say, is going to be retuned. Now, it's not really clear just how much the sliding is being adjusted, but I do think after the community generally felt that it was a bit, I would say, floaty, inconsistent. You guys can let me know if you agree or disagree with that. Treyarch's wanting to lock it in and make it more reliable. They're also going to make a huge change to the dexterity perk, which was a massive request by a lot of people. So in case you forgot, the dexterity perk was basically a crutch perk in the beta, because it would make it so you could aim down the sights of your gun while you jumped, while you slid, and in a game as fast-paced and vertical as Black Ops 7 so far, it was more or less essential if you wanted to play the game at the fullest potential. You had to have that. If you don't know what a crutch perk is, that's a perk that if you're not using it, you're already falling behind. So you're kind of forced, you're pigeonholed into using that perk in its slot. Now, Treyarch is going to make the dexterity ADS mechanics universal to every player at all time. That's a good thing across the board, because that means your class will now have an extra perk to pick from, since you won't be forced to use dexterity all the time. They also overhauled some of the perks and what categories they're going to be in, as well as some of the perk combination and bonus traits that you get from them. Like I said at the beginning of the video, this all sounds wonderful. And I mean, from the sounds of it, all of these are highly requested changes, and they're going to go a long way for the Black Ops 7 community. Everything that Treyarch is doing to the game right now is seemingly in direct response to the common criticisms of the beta. That, to me, is refreshing. That's refreshing to see this from a franchise. Like I said before, I think we're all used to the COD betas basically just being a tech test, and then developers, honestly, they act like they are, but they don't take the gameplay feedback very well or into account following the 1 or 2 weekends the community gets their hands on the experience. But this year, it does seem like the developers have their ear on the pulse of what the community may want, and they're not afraid to make changes in order to make the game more in line with what the fan base wants. That's awesome. I really wish this was the attitude with previous COD teams and their betas, because I think the community, I know they do, they get pissed off with how much their criticism falls on deaf ears when it comes to COD, but I think they're listening. I don't think they're afraid to make adjustments based on the player feedback, and it also makes me wonder, why are we listening so hard today when we weren't before? Could it be that there's another FPS out there competing for your precious player time? I don't know. With all that being said, you guys heard me at the beginning of the video. I don't feel great about the game, and there's a few reasons. First, let's talk about the most obvious thing, the elephant in the room. Matchmaking. Look, we've been living in the SBMM world ever since 2019, and yes, I know skill-based matchmaking technically existed before Modern Warfare 2019, but when I say SBMM, you guys know what I'm talking about. The new version of it that Infinity Ward shoved down our throats and then convinced Activision to implement in all the other COD games, which, in case you didn't hear, an ex-developer spilled all those beans on that. And yes, the SBMM system was 100% Infinity Ward's idea, and they 100% were the ones that convinced Activision to put it in all the games instead of just Modern Warfare or just the Infinity Ward titles, allegedly. And even though the community has been pretty unified that we all don't like it in its current form, Activision has not budged on that. They have not budged on it until stating they're removing it in Black Ops 7. Wait a second, they didn't say removing, they said reduced. So there's a few things we're going to take away. First of all, take away the fact that none of this would be happening if not for Battlefield 6. I mean, BF6 has been completely destroying the sales charts, and Activision is clearly very worried about Battlefield eating into that precious Call of Duty player base and time, which is why they are now listening to the community so closely, in my opinion. But that's just the thing. They've been capable of listening to the community for years. They've simply chosen not to. They knew exactly what we didn't like about Call of Duty this entire time, and they chose not to change it. The only reason they're changing it now is because they have some real competition on the field, and it's been a while. If Battlefield falls off, you already know that COD is going to go right back to not listening to the community, and Black Ops 7 does really well and gets the series back on track. Activision will go right back into their too big to fail mentality. So yeah, I'm happy that SBMM is being reduced or removed, but I'm also concerned about how long it took for them and all the external pressure that was required to get this done. This wasn't a change being made because they genuinely wanted to make the community happy, because if they did, and they did want to make you and me happy, they would have done this years ago, but they didn't. And why didn't they? Well, because SBMM still makes a lot of money on the casual players. We always say, you and me and the ones that get on the internet and search out Call of Duty and watch content and digest it, we're like the 1%ers. 99% of the people don't even get on X or YouTube to look at Call of Duty. They're just casuals. A new Call of Duty game comes out, they buy it, they mindlessly play it, and then they move on. So that's the big takeaway we need to be thinking about. SBMM stayed in the formula because even though it pushed a lot of longtime players away from the franchise, you, me, it also kept a lot more new players in the franchise longer than they would have been. That's right, Timmy. Timmy stayed. He felt protected. And it seems like Activision was making enough money off the new players to justify losing the support of the OG players. The older players were being pushed away, yes, but the newer players were more enticed to buy cool skins and fun gun bundles and stick around and spend more money. The problem now is that Activision is losing a lot of those casual players to Battlefield. That's why they have to make nice with the older players that they pushed away years ago. The casual paying player base that was being manipulated by SBMM just isn't big enough to justify keeping in the game anymore, so Activision realizes they have to try and win the older players back instead of forfeiting them to Battlefield alongside their casual audience. And don't think for a second that this is all planned and calculated to the just biggest degree. I guarantee they pay psychologists, they pay scientists, they pay all types of people to analyze every little thing so they can maximize their dollar. They're a business. They have shareholders to answer to. That's their job. But that doesn't do you and me any good. And it all sounds good on the surface because it sounds like Activision is going to be keeping in check. I mean, because of the competition, right? Good competition breeds success for everybody, right? That's why I'm concerned here. What happens if BO7 comes out and it's super successful? What if the player base is really big because they successfully got older players back on the servers? What if they bait me back in and I'm playing? What if you're back playing? Guess what? I think SBMM will get switched right back on because at the end of the day, that's what makes Activision so much money until now. They wouldn't have kept it in the game despite all the criticism if it wasn't making them tons and boatloads of cash in the process. But if Black Ops 7 is good and it brings a bunch of players back, who's to say Activision and Treyarch won't just flip the switch on again and get right back into that manipulative performance-based SBMM system that was selling all their battle passes, all their operator skins for the last few years? That's what I'm worried about. I think it's extremely concerning that whenever Treyarch talks about open matchmaking, they always say that it'll be in the game at launch. I don't see any commitment to keeping the game as a core feature the way it was back in the day. They only want to say that it will be in the game at launch, and they also haven't said they won't be manipulating the way open matchmaking works. It sounds great on paper. That's my whole premise about this whole video, is it all sounds good on paper. Treyarch describes open matchmaking as a system where skill is minimally considered. but how do we know how much of it's considered? What does minimally mean? What is the definition of that? If we have a bucket with 100% in it, is minimally considered skill 4%, 15%, 20%, 75%? I mean, there's no clarity. There's no transparency here. Open matchmaking is not a truly connection-based system. There's still some kind of skill matchmaking going on in the background. It's just much looser and flexible than it's been in previous years. So who's to say Treyarch isn't going to be quietly tweaking just how much skill is considered in the matchmaking behind the scenes? And why won't they commit to open matchmaking being the standard for the entire year? Well, frankly, I'm fully expecting there to be a lot of adjustments made to the open matchmaking throughout the year, to the point that it's just going to be another form of SBMM, just as not as strict as it was before. If it's under a new name and a new title, then nobody will notice, right? I mean, if it's not going to be truly connection-based like Classic COD was, it's just not the same. There's just too much money to be made by using SBMM to manipulate the player base. And again, you may think I'm being a conspiracy theorist here with my tinfoil hat on, but remember this. I'm telling you, I don't think they'd be listening to the community like they are if they weren't losing money. They've proven that in the fact. They wouldn't have kept SBMM into the game for as long as they did if they weren't making money. I mean, those are the obvious things in front of our face. If Black Ops 7 does well and it revives the community, I absolutely expect Treyarch and Activision to tweak the matchmaking to try and get the SBMM formula back on. It just won't be as obvious as it's been in the last recent years, but they know it's proven and they have all the data in the world to show that if they can crank that up by any means, they sell more bundles. They sell more skins. And that's a video for another day, talking about skins and bundles and all that stuff when it comes to Call of Duty as well. But yeah, there you go. That is my true, honest opinion. And if you guys are enjoying this type of Call of Duty commentary, stick around, subscribe, turn on those notifications, because this is a new Jimmy. This is a new Chaos. This is going to be where I'm going to give my opinion. I'm going to be brutally honest, whether it's good, whether it's bad. I want to be constructive for the community. I want to be with you guys. And maybe there's a way we make it better. Maybe there's not. But I'm kind of tired of looking back over the last 5 or 6 years and just kind of saying, okay, and rolling over. I really, really am. I think it's time to talk. That's exactly what I'm going to do on this channel. So let me know what you guys think. Give me your thoughts and comments. I'll read every single one of them. And welcome to the Chaos Call of Duty commentary.